hello. I totally meant to do like a whole countdown thing, but here we are. It's our faces instead. I'm new. Hi, everyone.
This works. It's way
Yeah,
more.
you know what? It's fine. We're doing it live. Hey, Rizal, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Cassidy?
Good. Welcome to Open Source Friday. We made it. I'm Cassidy. I work at GitHub on the DevRel team, and this is Rizel. Rizel, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Rizel Scarlett, and I'm a developer advocate at Block. And also, this is kind of weird. I didn't mention this to you, Cassidy, but I used to host Open Source Friday every week, and now I'm on it. So this is weird.
You're just like, oh, she messed up.
No, that's gotten way more smoother with everything. I was
Right.
chaotic.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's very polished on this end if you know where the buttons are. And you know what? I'm learning, and it's fine. We're here and we're making it work. So
Yeah.
hello, everyone. Well, cool. So Roselle, you were saying that you're an advocate at Block, and how has that team been? It feels like you guys have a superstar team over there, and you're doing awesome things and cool stuff in open source as well.
Yeah. For the past year or so, I've been working at a business unit within Block called TBD, and they were focused on self-sovereign identity and helping to move money across borders. And I know when people say stuff like digital identity, decentralized identity, you get a little nervous. I used to at first, but I thought it was some of the stuff they were doing is really cool because it was about helping users to gain ownership over their data as we were using a lot of that. And then now I've moved over to mainly Block, and we're focused a little bit more on different open source projects that are coming out, and a little bit on AI. And yeah, like you said, my team's a superstar team. They're pretty good. I like working with them. It's awesome.
That is so great. Yeah. And I again, anything open source is fun for me. So could we actually talk about your project that you brought today, the LunaFocus one?
Yeah. So this project is one that I built in well, not only me, but there was a block-wide hackathon going on, and they're like, what random project ideas do you guys have? Oh no, my camera. This happens. Oh no, my camera always overheats.
No worries. I will just okay, there we go. We're back.
I'm gonna switch to my Mac camera. It's gonna be more ugly.
That's okay.
Okay. Sorry, guys. It happens when my camera overheats, and I've been streaming just before this.
My camera does that all the time. I actually had to turn off the safety features in my camera, and then it stopped doing that, which is probably not great for the camera, but it still works. So
I should do that. Didn't know that was a thing. What was I talking about? Oh, LunaFocus
hackathon.
Yeah. There was a block-wide hackathon. They wanted to get there's so many different companies within Block, like Cash App, Square, Tidal, and they wanted to employees within Block to be able to interact with other SDKs. So I was like, what if we use some of the data ownership capabilities that TBD's built out to help not developers, but to help people who are giving birth and stuff like that to own their data. Because I thought this was weird. When I got pregnant, or even when I was just interested in it, I downloaded an app, and then TikTok and Instagram and stuff
I know
what it's like to be a mom. Calm down.
Yeah. As someone with a toddler, it never stops. Once they know that you got kids, they target you so well, and you're just like, that toy would make my kid happier,
Right.
or maybe I should spring for those diapers, and they get you.
Right. And I was like, that's so weird that they're quickly selling my data. I barely even did anything. So I was like, it would be nice to be able to own that data, especially if you're let's say you experienced a miscarriage and then you're just getting reminders all day.
Yeah, for sure.
Who wants that? So yeah, that's kind of the basis of my project. And I led the hackathon group, and I was surprised a lot of people wanted to be part of it. It's
Cool.
not like yeah, it's not like an amazing, like, crazy built out app. It was kinda like a learning experience for, like, people in my group and myself of, like, how to use the SDKs, and some people, that were on my team, maybe they were, like, more of, like, security engineers and stuff like that, so they're like, "This is my first time doing web development." It was real fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, and I don't think it needs to
Mhm.
be the most like high-end polished thing to be
Mhm.
valuable. Because like you said, if it lets you get certain tasks done in a secure way where you can own your data, what more do you need?
Yeah. Let's
Can we pull up your screen and take a look at it?
yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, so right now we're just like on the landing page, nothing crazy. But if you went into, oh, let me actually clear my cache so we can start from scratch with this.
Ooh,
App
okay.
clear to site data, and then refresh. Okay, if we click get started,
And there's a repo for this,
here
right?
to log in. Yes, there is a repo. I can send it to you guys. If you click get started, I don't know if you can see it that well since it's in like dark mode, but like you'll put in your username. What's actually happening behind the scenes is it's creating something called a decentralized identifier for you. So kind of like
Mm,
Blue Sky has this as well, where you have a username, but you have this like identifier that you can take with you across the web. And then the roles that you would have is like, are you a provider or is this for yourself or your partner? For me, it would be like for myself. And then here's like a feature where you can like track your cycle or something like that, right?
yeah.
So I can put in these dates. So let's say 1028, I'm gonna do like a short amount, 1028 to 1030. And then like you will put in like your flow type. I know these is like type taboo, but just these are the real things, right? And then you'll put like submit, it'll have it logged just like you would with a regular app. But what's happening is it's not getting stored in like a database that everybody else has access to. It's getting stored in something called the decentralized web node. And you can see that it successfully did that in the console right here. So this is like a whole bunch of like,
It's like a record of some
yeah,
kind?
it's a record. Yeah, it's a record within a decentralized web node. So it's like an encrypted record. But I just printed it out so people could see it. So you don't really, and nobody else will really be able to have access to this unless you are like, I want to specifically give them information about that data. So I can go ahead and click like share my data, and I would
Oh,
put in like
interesting.
my provider's decentralized identifier or my partner's decentralized identifier, and they'll see it on their side. But that's basically how it works. Oh, you found
Oh,
the video so fast.
yeah, no, that it was both so fast and so simple and so complicated all at once. And
Yeah,
so, could we talk about how you built it a little bit more?
yeah, we can. I can look at my GitHub. And do you have like specific questions so I don't
Yeah, so I would love to learn first of all, in general, like the stack, and I know you mentioned that you were using some of the SDKs for decentralized identity stuff.
yeah, totally. So I use Next.js for this. I didn't use AppRoute. I use Pages Router for this. But yeah, I
Mhm.
use Next.js to keep it simple. I feel like Next.js is really good at like just having like a front end and back end that can work pretty seamlessly.
Yeah,
Uh,
you make a page, it exists.
yeah, I was like, perfect. But yeah, what happens in the background? Um, So let's see. I want to get to the data part. All right, here we go.
Yeah,
We have something called, like I mentioned, the decentralized web node. People, you can think of this as like a personal data store. Like you can keep anything you wanted in there, like music, documents, whatever
mhm,
you wanted, and you would have control over like who gets access to what. So part of this is like you have your decentralized web node, and then you have something else. This is a little complicated, guys, so apologies. But you have something else called a protocol, right? And this is
okay,
where we're deciding like how the data is shared with people or how they can interact with your application. So we're like
sure.
anyone can create a username, but only maybe an author would be able to read that username. And then there's like another one. I think it should be
Oh,
about the
it's
particular.
kinda neat that it's called just who and can.
Yeah.
It makes it very like, who can do this, who can do that. That's nice.
Yeah, it's like simple to see. I'm trying to remember where I think somebody moved it around, where we decided to put the other protocol in here. Come on.
And
Uh,
so
Go
this
ahead.
is probably a super basic question, but I feel like when identity is thrown on, whether it's on Blue Sky with any of the block stuff, what what is what how would you define the word protocol?
Oh, yeah, that was a weird one because when I first learned
Yeah,
it, I was like, what isn't a protocol like an HTTP protocol? Like, what's going on?
right.
But in this situation, a protocol is kind of like the structure for your data and it decides who, or it helps you decide who can interact with your data and how. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what it is and who can interact.
Yes, exactly. I don't remember where we've moved this to, as other people have like helped contribute to
Sure, it was a hackathon. I get
it.
it. A lot happens.
But oh, here's one of them, right? Yeah, like anyone can create a entry for your period. The author will be able to read, create, update, delete. They can do whatever they want to their own like period calendar, but only the person who's the recipient, like when you saw that
Can
I
read.
sent it, can
Sure.
read it. Yeah. So those are the types of like ways you can set it up to be like, hey, I don't want anyone else to necessarily have access to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Pradeep asks the question, is that considered a protocol or a data frame?
In this case, it's called a protocol. Like that's the terminology they
Okay.
used for it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So interesting. And so to set this up, you have this configuration for it, and then how do you consume it on the front end?
Let me see. It's basically like
Is it
it's
like it basically makes an
serverless.
API under
Huh?
the hood? Is it like it makes an API on top of it?
It's kind of serverless. So let me see if I can figure out
Okay.
how to explain it to you in an easy way.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of it feels like a layered question because I'm sure there's a lot happening under the hood.
oh, I know what to explain to you. There's queries that happen. Let me
Oh, okay.
find them for you. Do-do. Or I'll go to the documentation. So, because that'll be a little bit
The
easier.
the docs are great.
Yeah. It'll be a little easier
Love docs.
for y'all. All right. So yeah, when you're on, I don't really have too much on the back end at all. You can build one of these apps without using anything on the back end. But
Interesting.
basically you can say like, hey, I have this component and I want to basically query my DWN and I want to grab this particular record. So in this example, right, you see like, oh, I'm grabbing or I'm querying records that are like of a playlist type and that are
Gotcha.
like JSON format. So I have like a similar thing in my front end.
What does DWN stand for?
Decentralized web nodes.
Got it. Okay. Sorry,
Sorry, I
keep interrupting you.
was just saying that. Yeah, I'm like so embedded into the
Oh, I'm
world.
sure. Acronyms are just so deep in all the things. It's hard to forget what words are.
But yeah, there's different. Let me see if I can just search the word query to quickly find it. Query.
It reminds me of GraphQL.
Yeah, it kind of does look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems very, very similar where you get things based on a schema and it's
Yeah,
in a specific format.
but yeah, that was a perfect analogy. Yeah, where I basically say like, hey, I want to fetch every like the period entries, and I want to place them on my calendar. If it doesn't work, give me like a little bit of an error here, but I want to like use them and have them. And then also like if you were creating a period entry, it would be kind of similar where there's like a create method, and you'd say, all right, I want to grab this record, I'm going to store it in my decentralized web node, and I want it to use this schema, this data format, so on and so forth. I hope
Gotcha.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I could see how it's, like, kind of serverless. You're creating the record, pulling it from the distributed, decentralized network.
Visualizing.
It's just so many words.
And it
Okay,
sounds
cool.
so great. It sounds so like up there.
Right, yeah, it's a lot of things to happen, but once again, by doing it this way, then it's all owned by you.
Yeah.
It's attached to your identity.
Yeah. Which is exciting.
Interesting. Someone asked, "Please let me know which model is implemented."
This is called Web5 JS. So I don't know
Web5.js.
about Tracker JS. I don't know what that is, but it's using
Yeah, it might be this because this is period dash tracker JS. Maybe that's
Oh, they're talking about. Oh no, I just named it that. But
got it. Okay. Okay. Cool. So interesting. And then because front end stuff, calendars are hard to implement.
oh
How did
yeah.
you do that?
Shout out to somebody in my group. They used a plugin. I think it was Daisy UI or something like that. But they
Oh, okay.
a plugin where a calendar was already made. Oh, it's
Oh,
called
that's
Full
so nice.
Calendar.
Full calendar.
Yeah. I was like,
I love learning about calendar libraries because they're all very different, but all so necessary because making a calendar from scratch is terrible.
uh, yeah, it was like wonderful when we discovered it, and we still struggled a little bit because there was moments where, like if you click the date already, like it forces you to still have to put the calendar date in. We wanted to
Oh, I see.
click out of the modal and like if you changed your mind, but we're still working on that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, cool. This is such an awesome project.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned still working on that. Is it still like being actively worked on, or is it one of those things where it's like, when we get to it, we get to it? Like, I was, because I know how hackathon projects go.
Yeah, I think I think it was something that we were continuing to work on, and then we took a pause as our company has shifted some of their
Sure.
priorities. But I'm kind of basically there's going to be a foundation that adopts some of the SDKs. So I'm kind of waiting
Mm.
for that, and then I'll pick it back up. But if people want to like dive in, it still works. So
Cool. Cool.
yeah.
Nice. Some people are asking about AI. This is an AI free app, right?
Yeah, it is an AI free app, but
Handcrafted.
handcrafted versus original. But I think I did encourage my teammates to use AI to interact with this. I've been
Sure.
actually trying out a new AI agent called Goose, and that kind of like builds out a lot for you. You can give it like little hints, like give it the documentation or whatever, and it'll go and do everything from scratch for you. Like it's pretty
Oh, nice. Like the scaffolding.
yeah, it's autonomous. So you can just be like, here's what I want, and it'll like make out a plan. It's gonna be like, I'm gonna install this, then I'll do this, then I'll do that. So that's been pretty cool. But yeah, AI free.
Awesome. Wow. So cool. And then Josh asked, what database does this use? It doesn't,
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't use like SQL or anything like that. It uses a data store called a decentralized web node, which you
Sure.
own. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's like the quote unquote beauty of decentralized things is you don't necessarily need a database because it's attached to your identity,
Yeah, exactly.
which I still have to wrap my mind around it.
It's hard. It is hard. It took me like months to be like, okay, I get what's going on now. And then what made it even harder is like, all of these technologies that I'm mentioning, they're not associated with like blockchain or anything. And that's how I've always known this.
Right. That's how people associate. They're just like, "Oh, yes, that means I need the blockchain." Also, coins, right?
Yeah. But I'm like, it has nothing to do with it. So it was hard to wrap my mind around, but once I got it, it was like, okay, I can imagine the decentralized web node as a database, but I just have the controls over like, you can't read this particular data, but you could. Yeah.
Right. This is a really good question from Jacob. So, where is that store then, or does it not matter?
Good question. Yeah. So basically, how the store works is like you have a local version and then you have like a remote version. Um,
Mm.
the remote version is like a server that companies can elect to host, but because the data in there is encrypted, they're not able to see it. So
Gotcha.
like we did a partnership with Google at one point, where they were hosting like a community node where people can put up to like 1 GB of storage in it for free and stuff like that. So you'll
Okay.
have your remote data store, and then you'll have like a local one for yourself as well. Or you can choose, if you feel super technical, you can choose to host your own server. Not me though.
If you dare.
Yeah, if you dare.
Okay, we have another one. Or does each use different protocols?
If they're asking if every app can use different protocols.
I think so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like you could, let me see how I'm gonna respond to this.
I appreciate you explaining this because this is the most clear way I've heard a lot of this decentralized stuff in a long time. So I genuinely really appreciate it because, yeah, again, you really hear it about like blockchain or coins. So it's really useful to hear this, especially because Blue Sky has gotten so big and
Yeah.
like the app protocol and everybody talking about like how you can own your data even if someone were to buy the network or something.
Yeah, I actually, like, side note, I actually did a live stream with Dan. He moved from like Meta to
Dan
Facebook.
Abramoff. Yeah.
Yeah, and like he was explaining Blue Sky to me, and I was like, oh my god, it's almost like very similar to everything that TPD was doing. But for Charles, what was I gonna say? Oh, here's how it will be, right? The protocols are just like JSON, right? Like you're just giving it instructions on how your app should share data. So there's like a repo of different like protocols that people like to use. So you could elect to be like, oh, this one is applicable to my specific web app, but you don't always need to, like, you can use different ones depending on like whatever the situation is, because your app's not
Interesting.
always going to have the same data, or you're not always going to have the same goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Here's another question. Who controls the keys or what controls the keys to encrypt and decrypt the data?
That's a hard question for me.
It's okay.
I think there's magic happening behind the scenes.
I think that's a very valid answer. We just know that it's magic and ask someone else.
There's like a lot of cryptography that's happening with like decentralized identifiers. A lot of like, companies use them, like apparently like Auth0, Microsoft was using them at one point. So I don't know, but like there's like cryptographic algorithms happening, and that's out of my pay grade.
I love that. Auto magic is the best, and I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's agree. So here's a question that also might be beyond this, but let's just say I wanted to create a network of something like LunaFocus, something where it's decentralized but attached to me in some way. Let's just say it's logging live streams that I make or something. Is that something where I define a protocol and then build something on top of that protocol that I've made, or do I use an existing protocol or an existing host of some kind and then put my data onto it?
Good question. I would say I haven't seen that particular use case that you just mentioned, so you might have to define your own.
Oh no. Okay.
But they're not too hard. It's literally like, what's the name of this protocol? What data format is this using? Like, is this MP4 or
Right.
or that? And then you say, all right, I only want people with this particular role to be able to do this. So I don't know if that exists right now, like the example you gave. I don't think it does. And then so there's parts that are really easy. Like if you wanted to connect to your decentralized web node, you would literally just type web5.connect, and it'll be like, oh, I know that this is this person's identifier, and I'll connect them to their DWN. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because that is something that I've thought about where like it would be interesting to have a log of streams as an example, but it could be anything. It's books you read or something. How you could own that without it having to just be on someone's database and hope that you can download the archive of your data or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Think
so
that's a
interesting.
good one. Yeah.
Let's see. Jacob said, key management was one of the biggest sticking points in my last startup. We wanted to make sure that people were really in control of their data, but no one wanted to manage their own keys. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something we had to think about too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and still curious about how companies that have successfully implemented or handled it. Yeah, it's I'm fascinated by this because again, with the whole decentralized concept, I feel like it's getting bigger again when certain large amounts of money are spent to own your data by various companies, various individuals and stuff. You want to figure out, wait, what is mine, and how can I make sure that I hold on to it? It's a really interesting concept, and again, the concept of doing it without having to have a coin attached to it is once
Yeah.
again that's the part that I fully didn't process, I guess.
Me too, at first. I was like, what? And then I was even more like what when we created. So he mentioned DIDs. There's like companies just make their own DID methods or their own types of DIDs. So like Blue Sky has their own, and I guess it's just like they want to make a specific type of method for how the DIDs are going to be handled and where they're going to live. So
Mm,
people want the DIDs to be on, or the decentralized identifiers to be on the blockchain. Some people don't. I think Blue Sky just has DIDs hosted on like some type of like website or web server. I don't
yeah.
know how that exactly works. But for TBD, ours was even weirder. It was like on BitTorrent. Like
Really?
yeah.
Huh.
It was I was impressed. I was like, you all are on some big brain energy.
That's fascinating to me. Yeah, no, it's a whole world that like I think again, a lot of people are very interested in owning their data right now in different ways and figure out how to get off of certain systems. And it's it's a big problem to solve. And
Yeah.
it's interesting to see all of the very different solutions to it and the big brains required to figure it out for sure.
Yeah, I think one problem though in this particular industry is like everybody's trying to do it a different way, and I'm like
Yeah,
we'll be more progressive, like we'll make more progress if like everybody was like working together. Because I'm like with
right.
everybody doing it separate, like you said, it's a little complicated when you hear one person explaining and it's another person explaining. You're like, what's going on? So
Right.
if it was like a more concerted effort, I think.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's the joy of open source on Open Source Fridays. Like I do think things being built out in the open will only benefit others and that's why it's cool to see protocols like at protocol and stuff being implemented out in the world because then you can see like okay, I get it. This is how this works or I can at least study it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Let's see. There's another question. Will AI make a huge impact in the future? Probably. I feel like it already has.
Yeah, like for the
Yeah.
3 years it has been.
It has exploded, and I think what'll be interesting on the AI front, and probably with identities and stuff too, there's so much of this that is intertwined. I think it it'll be like a big wave of people being super interested, and then it'll get quiet, and like certain
Mm,
things people will continue to use, certain things will fall by the wayside, and
mhm.
then we'll see another wave in the future. And I feel like we'll be getting a lot of different waves of different types of technologies as people make breakthroughs for sure.
Oh my God, I'm excited to see how that goes. Yeah, because
Yeah,
there's so many AI things. Like the
so
other day,
many.
someone was like horizontal AI agents and vertical. I'm like, what? I don't know what that means. Why are they vertical and horizontal
I
now?
don't fully understand what that means. Something that was interesting, not to be a total shill for GitHub Copilot, was GitHub Copilot Chat lets you ask questions about your code base and
Yeah.
stuff. And I actually cloned this repository, the LunaFocus repository that you had, and I was able to say like, could you give me some questions that I should ask about the implementation details? And it was able to go through all of them, and I was just like, wow, like I already had my own questions, but if I ever needed to plan a podcast or a stream or something that went into the nitty gritty of a project, that was so valuable for me to not have to go through every single code file and be like, how did this work? How did that work? It just said, you should ask about the architecture of this. You should ask about that. It was such an interesting use case that was helpful, where it doesn't just generate random stuff. It gets specific about what the source of truth is.
That's so smart. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. It was when I saw that, I was just like, oh, that could be a game changer for so many people.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Especially with Devereaux.
Oh, I know, for sure, for content creators in general. Once AI was a luxury and now it's been a necessity.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
it's one of those things. I actually made, like, an AI page on my website to be just like, most of my website is very handcrafted. Yes, I use Copilot to, like, do some auto completing and stuff, but I do think it'll be interesting to see how people differentiate between, like, fully generated, using AI as an assistant, using it as a learning tool, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's more obvious in writing than code right now. Like
Oh, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. I was helping a startup with some job applications recently, and it was so clear which people actually wrote the job application, which people just use AI to, like, mass apply. And I understand it's a numbers game, you gotta apply to a lot of places, but if it's that clear that you didn't write it, then maybe assess how much you're using
yeah, it's
those
true.
tools.
And I kind of miss those like blog posts where it's like your authentic thoughts. No.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think that's what's been cool about, I keep shilling Blue Sky, but again, like, the whole concept of just humans owning their data, decentralized stuff, and keeping it in the open, and writing their own things, not just kind of catering to an algorithm.
Yeah.
It's been really cool seeing the human side of the internet kind of break through again, and seeing how people, like, do share their opinions and their likes and their musings on certain topics, whether they're technical or not.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that part as well.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be cool to see how things, evolve over time. I feel like we're in a period of flux for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, all that being said, Rizal, thank you so much for showing us your project and explaining all of these nitty-gritty details that a lot of us didn't understand before today.
Thank you for being patient with my explanations. I feel like they were
No,
overwhelming.
it was really great. I really, really appreciate it. And to everyone out there, if you have questions, you can reach out to Rizal. That's her username. Where else can people find you on the internet?
Literally, I feel like I signed up for every social media app, Black Girl Bites, but yeah, Twitter, well, X, Blue Sky, Mastodon, everything you could think of. That's my handle, Black Girl Bites.
Amazing. Cool. And similarly, if you find Cassidy, chances are it's me on the internet. Except for Instagram, a teenager took it from me, and
No way.
it's okay. I feel like I've just watched her life from a distance because she's had my username, and I'm just like, look at her go. She graduated college. Stuff like that. Oh man, what can you do? All right, well, y'all, I'm gonna do a little GitHub ad that I should have done at the beginning, but I didn't know where the button was, and then we'll see you all next time for the next Open Source Friday. Rizal, thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.
All
Bye.
right, have a good one. Bye.
As AI developer tools become more capable and accessible, they enable more people to create software through natural language. But when the code is generated, the user has to do something with it, like building, running, and deploying it. That's why GitHub Next have built GitHub Spark, an AI-native app platform to help anyone build, use, and share highly personalized microapps. Let's see how it works. From the homepage, we can see our existing Sparks, or microapps, and can describe what we want to create. So let's build an app that helps a user review the cities that they visited. Rather than being provided with the code, we're provided with an app that we can interact with immediately. Now, the app is made up of custom components providing a consistent feel. I can set the theme to light or dark mode, or let it respect my operating system's theme preference. But I even have access to a theme editor to control a few aspects like the primary accent colors or border radiuses. Now, this looks like a good start, but let's iterate on the idea by capturing the latitude and longitude of a city. Now, we already added some data, but it has no latitude or longitude. So let's click on the Data tab and delete it. By the way, Notice how it's storing state without us having to manage any databases or connection strings. Cool, so let's add some more reviews. Looks like the coordinates have been calculated, so let's iterate a bit further. Let's allow the user to update and delete items in their cities list and plot those ratings onto a map. As we view the travel log, we can edit existing items and delete them as well. But let's go and add it back in. Now when we hit the toggle, we're taken to a map view and can see Barcelona and Rome plotted on the map. Now I might want some suggestions on cities to explore, so let's ask Spark to help there too and add some capabilities into our app. We'll ask it to suggest 3 cities based on my existing ratings and reviews. Now as we generate city suggestions, notice the multicolored animation around the button. That shows we're using AI to generate a result. And it looks like there's some great destinations. Now let's do one more thing. Let's provide a vague request to make the app feel more sunny and fun. So let's tap on that double plane button and generate variants. This is useful as my request was ambiguous and our intent wasn't fully clear. This provides us with several alternate paths that we can explore. When we're happy with an option, we can select it and continue building out the app. As you're iterating on your app, you'll notice a history of changes on the left-hand side. As we move between them, we can explore the revision prompt and the resulting state that was generated. So if you want to revert some changes or explore an alternate path, you are empowered to do that. But this looks good to me, so let me rename it, and let me make sure to star it so it's easily accessible from my dashboard. GitHub Spark has helped me create my family travel review app immediately usable from my tablet without any deployment needs. Want to learn more? Check out more details by going to gh.io/Spark.